Cool. So week one is ether. So ether is like probably the most in depth of the elements to explain, because it is everything. So it's a beautiful space in which to start the process as well, because what I've found with all the elements is that they're present in all of the different cultures. You'll always hear them talking about the elements and worshipping the elements and connecting in with the elements. So you always have earth, water, fire, and air. But the thing is, they don't normally talk about ether, because like in Native American, ether is actually the void. And in alchemy, it's the quintessence. So it's actually like the circle around. So it's like the container. But I like to speak about ether because of the Ayurvedic principles, as well as like Plato. So Plato is the guy who, like, Heraclitus is one of his proteges, and they could like hear the sounds of the spheres. So they were super tuned in. And the Platonic solids are sacred geometries, which also represent each of the elements, including ether. So I really like ether because I've spent a lot of time in ether, in sort of that dream space. And ether, it's nice to understand ether because it's the fundamental field of consciousness. So it's where our consciousness comes from. It's where we're always connected to. It's what connects all of us. It's that quintessence. So it's also, if you like, it's the fundamental field of potentiality, meaning that everything is possible in this field. So it's like where our ideas come from. It's where it's the fundamental field of intentionality. So it's where our intentions dwell before we've even thought of our intentions. So if you think intention's more of a field that we connect to rather than something we think. It's like when you have a thought to create something, but you don't actually move on it. And then down the track, somebody says to you, oh, check this out, I made this thing. And you're like, oh, I thought of that like a year ago, but I never did it. It's because we're all connected to that field, and the ether communicates. And this process of the elemental living is how we actually tap into that, what wants to happen in that ether, and then how we actually bring that through and ground it in earth. So when we're looking at ether, what I said was, the space, the akash, the quintessence, the void. So you find it in so many different cultures. And one of my favorite ones with the ether is connecting it with Om. So Om being the cosmic vibration. So again, in Ayurveda, they talk about Om as the primordial sound. So they say before there was anything manifest, that there was just a resonation, or there was just a sound, and that was Om. And you can read it in a lot of different scriptures that there's always a connotation with a sound being the first thing, whether, at first there was a word and the word was God, or the word was Brahman, or in science even, when they say like the Big Bang Theory, it's still a sound that created everything. So that is ether. So connecting in with Om is such a powerful way to connect in with the ether. So I do encourage you guys to practice the Om. From my experience over the last 7 years of Omming and running Om healing workshops, I've broken it down into 4 parts of an Om. So you actually have the ah, or, and then the silence. So you play with those 4 sounds, and the first sound is ah, which comes from like the back of your throat, and then the sound moves into your like cheeks, into your mouth, and then the is in your lips, and then you bring your tongue to your teeth, which is like the dot on the top of the Om. So you got Om. So play around with that in your morning chants, or once you've done your morning practice, or whatever it is. Even if it's just one Om, you'll find that we can hear, we can express with sound. So we're a receiver and we're a transmitter as well as an amplifier. So sound is one of those ones where there's such magic in it, where when you look at ether, you got ether and you got space. So they're actually the same thing, but ether created space to house the universe. It's like Om is the primordial sound, and if you look into Kundalini yoga, they actually chant Ong with the G, O-N-G, which they say is Om. When it comes into tension, into manifestation, that's Ong. So they say you can't actually chant Om, you can only chant Ong. But it's the same as like how you can hear with your ears, but you can also hear in your mind. And you can also speak with your mouth and your voice box, but you can also speak in your mind and hear yourself speak. So if you think about it, ether is everything and space is the container. So again, when we're listening with our ears, we have our eardrums. So if you think of a drum, has space inside it. And we speak with our voice box, and a box has space inside it. So it's that a connotation. So really playing with Om, because they say when you connect in with your vibration of Om, that Om will vibrate through every level of your being to your Atma or your soul, and it brings all the energies in your body that have become out of sync with that cosmic vibration back into harmony. So it's a beautiful sound to practice, and they say that all sounds are contained within the Om. So it's very connected in with ether. The second principle I want to talk about is meditation, which I sort of think that meditation needs a new name, because I think it's been given a bad rap. And I think so many people say I can't meditate and I can't do this. But really, meditation in itself is sitting and connecting to that field. So I feel like people go, oh, I can't just clear my mind and I can't just do this. And I think that level of having to fully clear your mind is a Eastern principle, where in the West we live in a different realm. So we need a different concept of understanding of what meditation actually is. And if you think about it, like in our world, like our physical world driven by money, most people spend most of their life meditating on money and where it's going to come from and where it's going to go, and how am I going to pay this bill. So people are meditating anyway. It just depends on what people are meditating on. So meditation in itself, essentially I see it as the cosmic modem. So it's what connects us to that field of consciousness, to that field of potentiality. So it's so important to have a meditation practice, whatever that means for you. I will give some guidance as to a nice simplified practice that you can grow on. And during the course, I do advise or invite everyone to create a little sacred space to meditate. Because again, when we're talking about ether and we're talking about space and a place to connect from, we want to create a space that might have crystals, it might have candles, whatever, like have a pillow there to sit and meditate on. But essentially, when you create that space and you come into that every day and you're meditating, the energy that you're giving off, the pillow will take it in, the crystals will take it in, the space holds itself, so it will hold that energy. So when you're finished doing your daily meditation and you go off and do your day and you come back, when you sit back in there, you'll connect so quick. So it's like having tapping into your own Wi-Fi opposed to trying to find a signal somewhere where you're out there. So you can meditate anywhere, but if you meditate in the same space, it amplifies each time, and you'll be able to tell. Like if you create a space, say tonight or tomorrow, and you go meditate, and you'll feel that the space is new. And by the end of the week, when you sit in that space, you'll feel that there's been work done. You'll feel that meditative energy in it. It's like when you go into a church or a temple and you walk through those doors and you can feel that there's been people being present, meditating on something, because the earth takes in it takes in the energy of what's around it. It gets entrained. It's part of what happens. It's a really cool thing. So yeah, creating a space to meditate is pretty key to connecting in with the ether. And when we're connecting in with the ether as well, we want to really sit with what wants to happen. So this is something that I explored a lot, because often people will, especially within like the spiritual movement, will get an idea, and then it goes from this needs to happen and I need to do this, to I'm doing this thing. So it goes from like really doing and being of service to righteous action. And I'm sure we've all met someone who is doing something and the energy just doesn't feel right. It's sort of like the really strong Christian dudes that stand there with like a microphone and blur out their thing. It's like, that's pretty righteous. Like they think that everyone else needs to hear what they're wanting to say. But if you actually keep tapping in and listening and saying like, what wants to happen here, or what actually wants to happen, often you'll find that if things aren't flowing, there's actually something else that's wanting to happen through you, and you're not actually listening because we're too busy doing. So again, the meditation will bring us back into being opposed to doing. And that's the key, because we are human beings, not human doings. So also within this space, like how we get clarity on what wants to happen is by asking permission and asking for guidance. So within this space as well, as we connect deeper with the ether, we open up this connection where we can ask permission. So say we're wanting to do something and it comes, okay, that wants to happen. By asking permission, it's not like we're asking permission because we can't do it, but it's more like we're asking for permission to have more support. And it's also a really interesting space to explore, because if you are about to do something and you meditate on it and you say, do I have permission to do this? And you get a no, you can often break it down, like whether it's actually you, is it not right timing, or is there actually something in you that's constantly blocking you? So you can start to really understand a bit more about who we are and what we're here to do by asking these questions. And the other one is guidance. So if things aren't flowing, you can also meditate and say like, can you help me here? Like, I'd like some guidance into my next step. Like, what am I meant to be doing next? And you'll be really surprised to see the answers that come through, especially the more you meditate and the more we get into that practice of quieting the mind a bit and understanding how the mind works. And the mind's a beautiful thing. It's just always allowing ourselves to come back to the practice of meditating, being aware of the breath. Because the guidance that comes through, just also allow yourself to, we're exploring the field of pure potentiality. So we're exploring the field where everything exists. So if you are connecting in and you get some guidance and you think, oh, it must just be my imagination, like, so what if it is your imagination? And so what if it isn't your imagination? Just play with it, see what comes from it. That's what this week's all about, is really tapping into that field, asking the questions, and really learning to listen. So listening in the stillness. So finding our stillness. That's why within the meditation, a lot of people do say, oh, I do movement meditation, or, you know, I play music, or I do this, or I do art, or whatever it is. I go for a walk and that's my meditation. That's great, and it totally is meditation. But what we're doing here is really cultivating like a stillness, like a seated meditation, or even laying down. If you can stay awake, it's harder to meditate and stay awake if you're laying down. Your body tends to fall asleep. But it's about cultivating that stillness so we can really listen. And once we can cultivate that listening in the stillness, it's a lot easier to take that with us wherever we go. And you'll notice that you can carry that connection into other things once you've practiced it a bit. And I know that there's no substitution for meditation. Like, I've looked and there isn't anything. And if you find something, please send it to me, because I'd be interested to see it. And I recommend meditating twice a day. So once in the morning and once in the evening. And why meditate twice is because what we're doing is we're creating this space. So when we wake up and we sit, we're consciously connecting in with ourselves, connecting in with the all, that field of consciousness, and we're creating the space for our wake state. So we're actually being more present within that. And then at the end of the day, when we meditate, we're actually taking control and setting up our space for the evening. So in our sleep state. So then we've got our wake state and we've got our sleep state. So that's why it's important to do the two times. I mean, you could do 3 if you want. And I've really found with meditation is that as long as you do 10 minutes, it's like you'll notice such a difference. It will shift everything if you haven't been meditating. And once, like when you first start, you could probably find that 10 minutes will be a long time. Like 10 minutes in silence can seem really long. And when you find that 10 minutes is going quick, then increase it to 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I find between like 30 minutes and an hour, when we're going into those spaces, when you hit that 30-minute mark, over like the 25-minute mark, it's where things get really profound. So we can really, then we almost don't need to bring our minds back from chatter, but it's more about bringing ourselves back from whatever experience we're having and still bringing us back into our body. So we still want to like cultivate that presence, that we're still really aware and not drift off too far. But yeah, within that 30 minutes to an hour is where things can get pretty cosmic, which is quite fun. And the other one is gratitude. So when we're in this field, when we're in this etheric field, or just before like we're wanting to come out of a meditation, it's great to just reflect on things we're grateful for, and to plant the seeds of gratitude into the ether. Because when you think of gratitude creates more. So when you're grateful, you're attracting more things to be grateful for. So especially within this field, when we're planting those seeds, it actually goes into everything and it creates more. So I call it the gratitude fractal. So the more you're grateful, the more you're attracting to be grateful for. So then the more you're grateful, and then the more you're attracting to be grateful for, and so on, so on, so on. So it's this like gratitude fractal, this like fractaling out of gratitude. So in that space, in those meditative spaces, it's so good to, if you find your mind wandering, you can also just go into like thinking of people that you're grateful for. Like sometimes I'll sit back and I'll just like run through my head, and whatever comes up, I'll just be like, thank you. Whoever comes up, I'll just be thanking people and searching for people to thank. And you'll be surprised at how powerful that practice is as well. So again, gratitude has that etheric nature of how infinite it is. And the other one is laughter. So when you think of laughter, it's a sound. It's like pure joy. So I see laughter as the greatest expression of gratitude back into the ether, because it's the highest vibration that we can express with our voice and with our being, putting it in. So laughter techniques. So laughter is something that I actually do as well. I do like laughter workshops, which is really fun. Om healing and then laughter. And within that, I found that there's certain techniques, there's certain different types of sounds that you can laugh. So there's this sort of like when you're at school and you're in a classroom and you're sort of giggling and you weren't meant to be laughing, or like someone tells you to shush and you got that sort of like that's sort of like really like on the surface laughing. And then there's the more of like you actually laughing like which is like you're going more into the fascia of the body. And then there's the full bellow laugh, when you're like really laughing. I won't do it now, but it's like really laughing. That goes really into the bones. So that's like the 3 types of laughter you can play with. Even once you're in like a laughter fit, have a play with like bringing it back to try just like keeping it confined to then just laughing into the belly, and then doing like really letting it out. And so those are the 3 techniques that can move stuff around the body through laughter. And 3 postures, because laughter can actually be quite a dangerous practice at times. I've pulled different muscles and stuff laughing, just because I was laughing in funny positions and like sprawled out in funny places. So what I found was that there's also 3 positions that are like the most conducive for laughing for different situations as well. So the first is the best, that I love the best, which is Shavasana. So like laying on your back and just laughing like that. That's the best, because you can fully just let go. The next one is in like a lotus position. So like when you're meditating, or like that yogi position. So with the legs crossed and your spine straight, and you can laugh like that quite well. And then the third one, which comes in really handy, especially if you're like in groups and like people start laughing and you're standing, and that's to stand in like a qigong position. So standing with your like knees bent, just that supportive roll with your hands to your sides, and then you can laugh like that. So just making sure your posture is good. Those are all like really therapeutic laughter positions. If you guys have any more questions on that, you can let me know, and I'm sure I'll organize like a laughter workshop soon. I think it's overdue. Laughter like saves the world, and they say that 2 minutes of laughter, 15 minutes of laughter is the equivalent of like 2 hours sleep. So your body actually rests while you're laughing and rejuvenates. So it's a good one. So that covers pretty much like the content for this week, and then we go into the practices. So the practices each week and each element, there's 2 practices. So ideally you'll do the 2 practices, and then in the next week you'll add another 2 practices. So all these practices that I've created are designed for living life. So I've designed it specifically so you don't have to stop what you're doing, and you can fit it into your life, into your daily living regime as easy as possible. So like I said, ideally you'll carry it on, because all the elements link up. So for Ether, it's daily meditation. So the practices are to create a meditative space, or altar, because there's always different different ways that we can speak about different things, and all cultures do it. So having a meditation space or an altar is the same as having like a church or a temple or like a sacred circle or whatever it is. It's like having that space that you can go to, that is your little like download, it's your little portal, it's your little like wormhole, or however cosmic you want to get with it. So first is to create that. And I mean, it's really fun because everyone can think of like a crystal or like a candle or a nice blanket or pillow, or even go out and buy yourself some cool stuff, or grab some plants from outside, or just create it so it's got a bit of you in it and it really feels comfortable in there. So that's the first thing, is to create that so that we can do our daily meditations. And I've put there 2 really cool apps. So One Giant Mind app is really great for meditation, because it does have like a 2-week intro into meditation where you can choose a guy's voice or a girl's voice, but they talk about meditation and why to do it and how to do it. And then after the 2 weeks, it follows into a 30-day challenge. And I really love this app because every so many days they give you content. So they give you like why mindfulness is great. So if you're in that field of wanting to teach meditation or teaching meditation, or wanting to share with people that you know that are stressed as to why you should meditate, there's such awesome content within this app. And I think it's like the 3rd or 4th version. So this guy is a dude from Melbourne, and I came across it like three years ago. And yeah, I just love it. And once you've sort of created that, you can also do like the 10-minute timer. So essentially you put the earphones in and you start the meditation. He talks you through the first few seconds, and then there's some music, and you can customize it. But then it will ding after 10 minutes. And that's cool because then you're not sort of sitting there wondering what the time is. So to actually get into the practice of meditation, I love using the app with earphones, because it creates a nice space where you know when you're starting and when you're ending. And yeah, I mean, 10 minutes is a good start, between 10 and 30 minutes, because you're not overcommitting. Because to commit to going like an hour of meditation every day, that's huge. That's like, it's great twice a day, but it's a big step. And I remember like a month ago, my mum got back from doing like a silent meditation retreat, and I was having a chat with her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I've just done my hour of meditation," and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, mum's upping the game. It made me feel like my half an hour, twice a day is like not very good, but I'm still like, learning. So there are people that meditate lots, but again, if you're in a rush and you like, I have an hour of meditation to do, you're a lot easier, like your mind's gonna like be able to convince you to not do the meditation. Whereas 10 minutes, this is what I found, was committing to 10 minutes. Sometimes it would take me like 10 minutes to find my car keys or like find my shoes. So my brain's sort of like, cool, 10 minutes, I can definitely do it, because 10 minutes can fly like that when you're preoccupied. So commit to 10 minutes, and if you actually have more time, then do 30. But commit to the 10 minutes morning and evening to create that space. Again, just, you can fit that in quite easily. And really, like what I say to people, if they can't find 10 minutes to meditate, then they probably do need to meditate for an hour, because that starts to show you where your mind's at. But I'm sure all of you guys will be able to do 10 minutes. I'm very confident. So that's those meditations. And some, like, I got some quotes here, and just to contemplate. And if you like, they can pop up during meditation, or you can just contemplate them this week and see how these can connect you to the etheric field, like at a bigger level, like a greater level. And the first one is, today I shall judge nothing that occurs. this is a great statement. It's actually from the Course in Miracles. And when you think about it, judging is us putting things in boxes. So this is like this, and this is like this, and that person's like this, and this is how this is. When really, that's such a waste of energy if you think about it, like logically, because what we're trying to do, like our egos are trying to do when we're judging, is to put something in a box, when really, when we're talking about ether, it's everything. So we're trying to define everything and put it in that little box. So part of our brain capacity is holding that there. So we're this infinite being of infinite energy, and now we're like wasting our energy by putting all these boxes everywhere where everything's actually interconnected. So this statement is really nice because it's like, I shall judge nothing that occurs. So it's really strategically laid out. So play with that, write it somewhere. Like you can write all three of these somewhere. So in the mornings you can see them and actually read it and go, okay, cool, yeah, today I'm like also committing to judge nothing. And just see how much more energy you have. Because then you can also become more present. And when we're present, we are connected to that all. The second one is acceptance for everyone and everything. So again, you could say, I accept everyone and I accept this moment. Because really, like the things that happen are happening for us. They're not happening to us. So we're better off like accepting them because they're happening anyway, right? So when you think about it, if we don't accept something or someone or a situation, essentially we're not accepting this moment, which means we're actually resisting the entire universe, which is flowing, right? And again, infinite beings, and now we're like not accepting the situation. Whereas if we accept it, it's actually happening, and once we accept it, it flows, and then from that position, we're actually in a better place to make a decision of what next. So how can we move forward from this? So that's another one, just being in acceptance of what happens within our reality. And the third one is taking responsibility and therefore releasing blame. So when we take responsibility for who we are, what we've created, what we've done, we take away blame from anyone, and that's including blaming ourselves. Just fully taking that responsibility and really owning who we are and what we are and where we're at. You know, it's a really empowering practice to do, because then we're really embodying and taking the responsibility. You know, they say like, what was it, Spider-Man, where it's like, with great power comes great responsibility. So if we take responsibility, we actually get great power. It's sort of like playing it backwards. I really love Spider-Man. So it was a really fun one to like deconstruct. And if we take responsibility, there's power that comes with us taking responsibility for who we are. It's for ourselves. So those are like the things to like meditate on, and the meditation. And then we've got gratitude. So the more we can be grateful, the more we attract to be grateful for. And again, gratitude journaling. So gratitude in that we're connecting to that force that's constantly giving, right? And journaling's a really powerful tool, because if you look back to like the history of journalism, so it's a bit different to journaling, but journalism essentially came in to keep the people aware of what the governments were doing. So that's what journalism essentially was created for. And when I first heard that, I was like, that's great, because when I journal, it's keeping my mind in check. So instead of thoughts just running around the mind, you can write it down, and it's sort of like, oh yeah, cool, letting the mind have its time to flow onto a piece of paper and seeing it. So the mind's getting seen as well. So you keep it in check. So the morning gratitude journaling, and again, this is created in a way where this could take you an hour, or this could take you literally 1 minute to do. Depends how fast you write. So it's always just to commit to doing the bare minimum, and if you have more time, you can really drop in. So the first one is 3 things you're grateful for. So, that could be the roof above your head, that could be a loving partner, that could be the ocean, it could be your dog, it could be chocolate. But I invite you to mix it up every day. So not just writing the same one. Dig deep, because then, this is going to go for 6 weeks. So you can really delve into wow, I'm really grateful for that person who did that to me, and now I've grown in this way. So once you start using that gratitude muscle, that great muscle, things like really, you're able to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the experiences. So yeah, 3 things you're grateful for. And then the second one is 3 things that will make today great. So what are 3 things that would make your day great? So you can play around with that. It could be hugging a tree, walking the dog, doing some yoga. It could be, getting the perfect client. It could be having ceremony. It could be seeing a friend. Whatever it is, it's just putting it's like putting a request out, if you like. And the third one for the morning practice is 3 I am affirmations. So for instance, I am love, I am joy, I am peaceful, I am present, I am abundant, things like that. So start playing with different ones. And all of these, you can do more than 3. 3 is just the minimum. And again, if you're strapped for time, you know what these 3 are. So you can even just go the first one, you can just write beach, roof and dog, just because in your mind, you already know you're writing what you're grateful for. Same with the things to make today great. So there's all, just as long as you start the practice, again, you're activating that and you're working that muscle, which you'll notice the shift, because gratitude does build a muscle that increases our happiness and increases our ability to be creators and effective creators. There's actually science on how gratitude makes you happier. It's been studied. It's pretty wild. So then the evening practice is a fun one. So the evening practice is writing 3 amazing things that happened today. So it's that acknowledgement of what happened today. And again, it could be the fact that the 3 things that you wanted to make today great ended up being the 3 things that were amazing that happened. Or other things, just appreciation of what has unfolded. That's really beautiful. And that's part of it, really reflecting on your day and going wow, this happened, that was amazing. It might be seeing a flower in the garden, what might have been winning a car. Who knows? You'll be able to tell each day. It's a cool one. The second one is 3 ways today could have been better. So I like this one because it's sort of within a infinite world, right? When we're in this field of pure potentiality, it's cool things happen and we acknowledge it, right? But then it's yes, and it could have been better if this happened. It's not coming from a place of lack. It's just coming from a place of I'm normalizing that miracle, and now this could have happened. This it could have been better if this happened. And the beautiful thing about that is, in the morning when you wake up, you can look at your evening one and go, well, this would have made today better. So now it's the next day, and I can put that as, that will make today great. So then you can go out and do it, and you can just keep filling in all those gaps. It's a cool one. And the third one, which is really cool, is 3 signs you witnessed. So for me, today, it was noticing how I was talking to a friend about certain cycles that continue to happen, and I saw a crow. And the crow sort of symbolizes for me this big change, this big transformation, and it's happened with the same cycle every time. I hear crows, and just as I was speaking about it, seeing the crow was cool, this process is really unraveling, So yeah, 3 signs. And the thing is with signs as well, when we pay attention to nature, it responds in a certain way. We notice certain things. When we can start to notice what's happening and how nature's responding, we become more attuned with it. Like I know in like the indigenous culture here, when a certain type of wattle was flowering, they would know that there was stingrays breeding at the ocean. So when they saw this flower, they'd go to the ocean, they'd go hunting, and they'd get food. This I don't eat stingrays, but this is just an example, just putting it out there. So those are the practices for this week. So if there are any questions from anyone who's just watching the live, just place them in the comments below. And also, if you guys want to share any of your experiences throughout it, please feel free. And enjoy Ether Week, and we'll chat soon.